Welcome to the GM Gen 5 live video broadcast. My name is Bob Morielli, and I'm going to do a quick walkthrough with you guys today, maybe answer some of your questions if you come across during our Facebook Live broadcast. I could see you guys from my laptop here. But I thought what we would do is start off just doing a quick overview of how the new GM Gen 5 course is built. So I'm going to grab the Gen 5 course. Now, those of you that have some of our Learn at Home courses from the past, you kind of have an idea of how they're structured. So when we built the new Gen 5 course, what we decided to do was actually go ahead and make it in a similar fashion so that if you're a beginner tuner, you can jump right in and start tuning. And we set it up just like our normal Learn at Home courses. So you have a bolt-on, heads cam, or a forced induction process. So you have all of those included in here in the full color workbook. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to go through the processes of tuning a Gen 5 vehicle from start to finish. So it doesn't matter if you have a bolt-on, a heads cam, or a forced induction car, you can jump right in and get going. So it is not chapterized, it's process-driven, step-by-step process-driven. So you have all 270-something pages here of the course, but in addition to this, you get the laminates that go with it for each of those processes, and then, of course, a year of tech support. So always good stuff to have when you're working on a GM Gen 5. Now, in addition to this, I thought what we would do is go through some of the differences between, let's say, the older stuff, like a Gen 3, Gen 4, and the new Gen 5. So let's go ahead now and hop over and have a look at some of those.
All right, so some of the main differences between a Gen 3, 4 computer or a Gen 5 really come from understanding how the individual components or systems work. Now, on a Gen 3 or 4 computer, they still have main Spark Advanced just like you would have on a Gen 5. So, for example, if you look at your high-octane Spark table, it looks basically the same as you would see on a Gen 3 or Gen 4. They're all very similar, cylinder air mass based, and then Spark is determined based on engine speed as well. So the difference is, if you were working on a Gen 4 computer, you might find that you're commanding, say, 15 degrees here, and you might get a little less based on intake air temperatures. But if you're doing the same thing and you're looking at a Gen 5 computer, and we get a lot of tech support requests like this, by the way, you might find that you have 18, 20, or 22 degrees. And you're going, whoa, wow, okay, I'm commanding 15. Why am I at 20? Or you might see it as the opposite. So a lot of times guys will say, hey, I'm commanding 15, but I'm getting like 5. And I can't figure out why. Why am I seeing like 5? So in the Gen 5 course, we teach you how to figure out why is the virtual torque system unhappy. And so we'll do a quick look over at the virtual torque under the edit menu. Virtual torque. And I'll give you a quick overview of how the system operates. So in our example, let's say we were doing a forced induction Gen 5, you would actually be in here working, and we'll teach you the process in the course, and you would first identify kind of where you're at. So based on my engine speed and based on my cylinder air mass, so how much should I be commanding? So how much torque should I be commanding? So that's kind of the starting point of the system here. And we're going to walk you through in the course in a way to properly identify that, and then also how to properly figure out how to make the changes, because it's not just based on that. If you look at the system as a whole, you have a lot of contributing factors to virtual torque, and they're not just Spark Advance, it's not just airflow, it's not just engine speed. You have a lot of things also like camshaft position. So if you take a cam and you make an adjustment to, maybe you put an aftermarket cam in and you don't want any variation to it. So for example, if we go over to airflow, variable cam, and then let's just look at the watt table here. So wide open throttle, the computer's expecting to see the cam position changing here from 2 degrees up to 8 degrees as the RPM increases. Now what you don't know is that on a Gen 4, which still had the same cam controls, that really did nothing except the computer is looking at how much torque am I making and how much should I be making. But on a Gen 5, it not only does that, but it says, hey, now that I'm here at 8 degrees, I should be making X amount of torque. Why am I not making that much torque? Okay, well, let's add some Spark Advance to make that happen. Or the opposite, it's saying, hey, I'm making way too much torque because maybe you've got a blower on this car. And it's going to go, well, hey, we're making way too much now. Let's dial it back. And it uses Spark Advance and it uses throttle controls, as I'm sure you've all seen in your experiences where you've done probably a forced induction or a big heads cam on a Gen 5, and the spark isn't what you want, the throttle controls aren't what you want, it drives really badly, like it's bumping up against limiters. Well, that's really because it is. So in the Gen 5 course, we're going to walk you through how to identify what's going on, and then also how to find the proper solutions. So virtual torque is calculated by a bunch of these different factors, and of course we go into detail about what all those different factors are. And then once you understand those factors, we also teach you how to go over to the scanner and identify where your tables are causing a problem. So maybe you are over here under torque management and you're looking at your peak torque table and you're going, I don't understand what this really means. Well, in the Gen 5 course, we identify what that really means, and then we also identify through the scanner how to find that this is the cause of your problem. Or maybe it's not the cause of your problem. Maybe you have some other areas of the virtual torque system that are the cause of your problem. So understanding the virtual torque system as a whole is key in the new Gen 5 course. Now also, in addition to that, we also work out idle stability issues. This is all based on feedback that you guys have given us, how to adjust. Now you'll notice you guys don't have like an idle spark table you're used to in a Gen 3 or Gen 4. And that's because the virtual torque system looks at it and says, well, how much torque should I be making? And then how much do I need to have in for idle to be stable? And it'll go ahead and do that. And I'm sure that you guys have seen idle spark advance negative. Probably your headers are glowing and you're wondering what is going on here. So we walk you through solutions for this. And also, which is a really cool thing, is we've got a really neat process built in for the fuel injection window. So basically what we teach you here is how to adjust the fuel injection timing so that when you're actually working on, let's say you have an aftermarket cam, you can go into the fuel section here and you can adjust when the injection timing occurs. Now, why would you really care to do that? Well, on a port fuel injection car, it's not nearly as critical because the injector sprays at the back of the intake valve. So as the intake valve opens, it'll go ahead and let that fuel in. Now, on a direct injected vehicle, anything Gen 5, you're going to find that it is a problem because you only have so much time to spray the fuel. You can't be spraying the fuel, for example, in the middle of the power stroke. You can't be spraying the fuel in the middle of the exhaust stroke. There's a lot of factors in trying to figure out when you should actually be spraying the fuel. Now, if you don't particularly understand this and you don't adjust the injection window, I mean, it's not a huge issue, but it can be a problem in the fact that you maybe had enough fuel capacity in the fuel system to deliver the fuel without having to do additional measures. Or at a very minimum, you should be utilizing the system to its capacity anyway. So what we're going to teach you in the Gen 5 section, or Gen 5 course rather, is how to identify, based on your cam's timing events, when you can adjust the start of injection and actually to maximize the injection window. So it's kind of cool. That's a really, really neat little feature that we've come up with in the Gen 5 course. And then, of course, the very last thing we go through today anyway is how the actual scanner will walk you through going back and forth to make adjustments. So maybe you do need to make adjustments to your virtual torque system in a certain area based on the feedback you're getting in the scanner. So these are the things that take a long time to figure out, but once you understand these processes, tuning a Gen 5, it really becomes that much simpler. And of course, with the new Gen 5 course, we always do include a year of support. So that is a huge help, so that when you're doing your Gen 5 tuning, you can just use our support system, and we'll be happy to kind of walk you through where your issues are and kind of help you identify so you can kind of track them down.
So as you can see, there's a lot to the new Gen 5 course. And kind of as we've been doing this, I've been watching the comments and whatnot, and I see a question from George's, or I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, Matar. Can we raise the peak torque to 6042? I have seen it done. I really hate when it's done. And I've only seen it done on the craziest of builds. And generally what that creates is a problem. So you don't want the system to end up in a state where, you know, one particular table is crazy high and the rest are kind of in line. And because the system tends to look at it as a whole. And when it does that, it says, you know, am I close to where I ought to be? So if I should be making 6,042 pound-feet of torque and I'm not, that's a problem. And I have actually seen that cause problems where the computer refuses to go to power enrichment mode at full throttle, which is really the last thing, really the last thing you're going to want to have happen. So, you know, in regards to that, we try and teach you a process to actually keep everything in line and bump them up as needed. So, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the live broadcast here today about the new Gen 5 course. The Learn at Home version is available now. You can go to thetuningschool.com and actually get that now. The online center version comes out shortly, and our sales guys have given us a coupon code for you if you want to use it today. It's good today only. It's called LIVE. So if you go to thetuningschool.com, you can go through the checkout process and get the Learn at Home course, $50 off today only, using the coupon code LIVE. So thanks for watching. We hope you have enjoyed this video. And for more great high-performance tuning knowledge, be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on social media. And as always, stay tuned.